Hi, I'm Don Lupo, Executive Director with ThinkLA, and as part of our ThinkLA Innovators video series, we are very happy to talk with Jim DiPiazza of Onederous. He has an incredible new AI tool that is sure to change things for the better for our industry, for creatives, freelancers, and more. Hi, Jim.
Hey Don, great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. So you've just launched Onederous. How's that going?
It's going great. That was just yesterday, so we are starting to onboard people onto the platform, and it's been great. It's definitely in soft launch, so we're working through a few things, but it's been great so far, and we're excited to start helping folks.
That's awesome. So tell me, what is Onederous and what really inspired you to build it?
Okay, so Wonders, we're calling Wonders a brand strategy and a creative engine. And the idea is that it's meant to be this structured collaboration, a very seamless workflow where people in advertising can work with seven specialists, that's hard to say. It's a structured collaboration where people get to work with seven specialist AI agents. And what we really wanted to do was replicate the way you would work in an ad agency, and give that opportunity to independent folks who aren't necessarily in an ad agency anymore and miss working with that team.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very similar in that process in that it's sequential, you build on each other's work. It feels like you're really working with a team, and it's that thing that's missing from a lot of folks. So our idea was to really just put this tool in the hands of independents, creatives, strategists, brand directors, anyone who's really out there freelancing and working directly with clients. Um, but they've lost that team system that they really loved when they were at an ad agency.
Sure. Well, and I bet that's also great for people who have only ever known remote work, that now they can have this team to work with and not feel so, alone.
Yeah, I mean that's the tough part, right? Is it's the blank page is kind of rough. And just having a colleague, somebody to bounce ideas off of, someone to just generate ideas is so critical to the process. And we're all used to getting to work with folks and having that expert in the room with you. Granted, they're AI, but you still have someone to bounce things off of, and that for me has always been the most important part, and the hardest part when you're sitting in a room by yourself for hours a day and wishing you had some sort of input.
Yeah, hard to collaborate with yourself.
It is. It is. That is
Uh,
true.
so it's funny because we're in this period of AI is still this nascent technology, but it's advancing so quickly, and it seems
So
like
fast.
every day there's a brand new tool for marketing creatives. So why launch it now?
The main thing is there is an explosion of executional tools that really help you, whether that's Canva or Firefly or Nano Banana or Runway, whatever. There's all these tools out there that make the making a lot faster. But what I realized as I was starting to use them and being a solopreneur myself and an independent that works with clients is that idea of like the thinking, I call it the thinking before the making, that idea that a lot of those platforms assume you already have a strategic idea, you have a clear brief, you have a positioning, you have creative direction, you're coming to those platforms with the work you already want to do. And so my idea was let's build that upstream thinking so when you get there, you can take much better advantage of those platforms.
Okay. So, somebody may be working in creative, they may be a freelancer, they're a strategist, and like, well, I've got Chat, and I've got Perplexity, and I've got, Claude, and I've got all these other things. So, why am I going to use either one brand new platform or switch over to
Right.
this entirely? What's the benefit for them?
Right. I mean, that's a great question, and we've had people testing it, and we've had people ask me that, and certainly the generalist AI tools are great,
Hmm.
and they're really good at helping you think through a problem. The difference is generalist AI gives you a generalist output, right? Like they're not trained to do something specific. And so it's kind of like sometimes I'll say it's kind of like, you use TurboTax to do your taxes because it works you through a process. Could you do your taxes on ChatGPT? Probably. Would it be really cumbersome and horrible? And would I trust that I'm getting everything out of it? And so one is Wondrous is very focused on helping you solve in a seamless fashion the traditional advertising challenges that we face. But it's also in those other platforms you start stitching things together, which is a huge pain. And I have trouble as a creative person context switching. So I don't know if everybody else does, but you're doing one thing. So you're thinking over here with ChatGPT, then you might do strategy over here, then you're moving over to another platform and you're cutting and pasting and you're switching, back and forth, and you're having to prompt. And prompting is always kind of sometimes for a lot of people, I feel like it's the hardest part. Um, Thinking about what do you want to tell it to get what you want to do and then actually start doing the work. So with Wondrous, you're not having to do the prompting. All of that process is already built in, and then you can just do the work. So you're not really having to uh, manage all the platforms. I call it kind of like herding chickens. You're not trying to figure out what to do. And so all of that has really been thought through. And what's also great is because there's 7 AI agents, they work you through a process and they each are thinking about what they're doing and they're passing the work downstream. So each agent is getting that work from the previous agent and building on it. So you're not trying to think like, okay, what information do I want to bring to the next stage? What information do I want to bring to the next stage? The platform's already doing that for you. And the interesting thing is, and I mentioned earlier about the different platforms, not only within Wonders are we doing model orchestration, so taking different, the best of the best of what we think will solve the challenge. It's also the agent orchestration. And that actually was turned into a really tough challenge. People out there are aware of context windows when you're chatting with an agent, but they can only remember so much information. You think they're computers and they can remember every single thing that you ever tell them, and they don't. They have finite context windows. And so bringing that information forward has proven very challenging. We've figured it out how to make it work, but it was really challenging to make sure that as it moved forward, it brought the right information with it. So you weren't working with one of the agents saying, well, we already discussed that. I already discussed that with another agent, so why are you asking me the same question? And so we've solved for that. So that's a really huge part of what it does, and it really just ultimately creates a really kick-ass on-demand team of agents that you get to work with. So it's not really a team. I mean, it's not really a tool, it's a team. And I think that for me was really critical because I mean, you and I work together on it as a team, and when you've worked with really great people and really great teams, you realize the value of it. And so that's what we wanted to create was that teamwork, that team effort that you get out of when you're at an agency, but sitting at your desk by yourself.
Well, and I think you bring up a lot of good points. I mean, the memory thing, good grief, you'd think it would remember what it talked about with you, 5 minutes ago, but it doesn't seem to. So, but it seems like you're solving a lot of problems that have people have with AI in general, and working with these agents that, whether from do I have enough tokens to is it going to remember
Mhm.
the last project I worked on that's going to be vital to my client.
Right.
I think you're solving for a lot of those. So
Yeah, bringing all that together is definitely helpful in the standpoint of, yeah, that context, the workflows, all of it stays in one place so you don't feel like you're starting from scratch each time.
but you're removing a lot of the frustrations.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, and
It is AI, so there'll be some frustration.
well, yeah, and I think to your point, so many times I think with AI we're using it as the tool that it's intended to be, but it's never quite working the way we want it to. So the fact that you're solving for that takes away a lot of that friction. And
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to walk through a session with this. You walked me through
Mhm.
it, but
Yeah, we did.
for the people who are watching this, just kind of walk us through what a typical session might be.
Okay. So you mentioned the the workflow and the process, and I think that that's a really critical part because, like we said, AI is good at certain things. I personally think where AI is headed is it's all going to be about workflows. It's going to be about companies that create workflows that manage an entire process. So yes,
Hmm.
can you get like a social media AI agent that can help you with AI? Sure. Um, but where it's really going is helping you in your overall day. So the way Wondrous works is you get on the platform, you start a project, and the first thing it asks you is, do you want to do a creative campaign? Do you want to work on brand messaging or visual expression or content playbooks? We have four work types that we're launching the product with. Hopefully there will be more, but those are the four that felt like the most relevant as we met with people. And then you get to immediately get into work with the team, which is great. So the team is Lucas, and we've named them, and I'll talk a little bit about the reason for that. But you first meet Lucas, who's a project coordinator, and he's going to scope the project with you. He's going to ask you all the questions that are going to allow the rest of the team to do their best work. Then Olivia jumps in, and she's the brand researcher, and she uncovers the current brand foundation. So everything that you're going to build about the brand and the challenge that you have obviously needs to start with the truth of where the brand currently is or whatever's going on with it. So you can't really evolve until you know where that is. And then what's really exciting, what I love, and both creatives and strategists have really enjoyed working with is Malik is a market analyst, and he's going to map the competitive landscape and look for a white space and does a lot of research for you.
Hmm.
Then Emma, kind of the yin to his yang, is the cultural anthropologist, and she's the one that's really going to look at cultural movements and mindsets and looking at the tensions that exist out there that the brand can leverage too. So between Malik and Emma, they're really giving you real time, real world context for what's happening with the brand and or what's happening within the brand's category, which is super cool and it's really fun and it always amazes me what they come up with and people who've worked on are like, oh yeah, that's actually really interesting. I hadn't thought about thinking about it that way. And that's really what the goal of all this is for them to bring you thinking that you can react to. Then in the next step, Hudson comes in and he's the actual brand strategist. So he's going to take everything that Olivia and Malik and Emma put together from research and market analysis and cultural insights and decide with your challenge that Lucas helped you define what's going to be the right positioning strategy to help solve for that. And he's going to come back with a handful of positionings that you can kind of workshop with him and challenge and kind of interesting. The other day I was doing a test project with Hudson and I he came back with a he picked a mindset. Emma actually comes up with five interesting audience mindsets that could be relevant for the project. And he came back and said, hey, I want to go after this mindset. And so I pushed back and I said, well, I don't really think that's right. That feels too elevated. I don't know if going that expert in that specific project is the right thing to do. Don't we want like a more broad audience? Maybe it's people who are just new to the category. It was for fitness. And I said, or maybe it's people who are trying to level up and trying to get back into things. Like it feels like those are the people who are more energized. And he literally came back and said, you would think that, but you'd be wrong. And I'm
Oh,
like, oh, I was
so
like,
it's not
oh,
your typical sycophantic.
no,
It's
no. And then
collaborative. Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy. And he laid
Wow.
out, here's why these other two don't make sense. Here's why this one does. And if we do it right, the two that you like will follow the other mindset if we do the right campaign that way. I was like, okay.
That's
And it
pretty
was a
cool.
really good, yeah, it was very cool. And it was a great discussion. And we kind of pushed each other. I'm like, oh, are you sure? And I didn't just hit yes and I didn't just hit no and all that. So that was great. Then you land on a positioning with him and he creates a creative brief that gets passed off to Amelia, who's the creative director. And then she starts developing concept directions. So depending on what work type you're in, but she starts developing creative directions, creative ideas. You can workshop all those with her. And she does work that actually hits the deliverables that you've discussed with the team ahead of time. So depending on your project, if you say I want I want out of home and a social I want social media and I need a influencer and I want an activation or whatever, she'll come back with very high level, but executions and almost like add like objects of delivering against those deliverables, which is very cool. So it depends on each project. You can pick what you think will most help sell that campaign or make that round out that idea. And then ultimately, Noah is the last agent that comes in, and he's the brand director, and he kind of helps you clean up the deck if it needs it. But one of the most exciting parts is he actually does presentation prep. So he comes in and helps you figure out here's how I would set up the campaign, or here's how I would set up the pitch or this presentation, helps you with preps you with some questions and answers to be ready for, as well as some facts to have kind of at handy if anybody asks you questions. So it's a lot that happens in a very fast time, but it's built very intentionally. The prompts were incredibly deep, so this isn't just act like a strategist. We've really built a lot into each of the agents. And like I said, they fight for their work and they're collaborative because they'll ultimately defer to you, whatever you want to do, but they definitely will give you that output that you're looking for. And then the best part is it ends up, building a deck in real time. So you're not having to build the deck either.
So how comprehensive is the deck?
So it's 26 slides. It comes out as a 26-page deck. I kind of consider it a little bit more like the Leave Behind style deck. So it's got more content in it than
Mhm.
presentation with just big headlines. You could certainly do that. You can get a PDF of it, but you also can get a PowerPoint, which is great.
Excellent.
So, so we've had 50-50 really with people who've been using it feeling like I just want a deck that I don't have to think about. And other people say, give me a deck that I can make my own. So you get an
Sure.
editable PowerPoint that you can then cut and paste into your own templated deck if you have a proprietary deck for your company or for your consultancy or your brand. Though it does brand the deck. So up front it pulls brand colors and brand logo and things like that. So it doesn't look like Wondrous. It looks like whatever brand you're working on, at least from a general color scheme and logos and fonts and things like that.
It's inherently white labeled.
Yes, yes, exactly. It can definitely be more white labeled if you want, but for what it comes out as, it definitely can look and feel like the brand that you're
So
working on.
you really put a lot of thought into all these different. I'll call them personas for now, but I mean
Sure.
it's not some chatbot being telling you what you want to hear.
No.
They're being useful. But that said, I'm sure some people are like, well, great. Now here's something else that's gonna replace creatives and strategists.
Right.
What's your answer to that?
So my answer to that is we're not replacing people. We want to amplify their skill sets and amplify what they're capable of doing. So we kind of started this off by talking about people who are freelance or solopreneurs who don't get to work with a team anymore. So this is really about giving them that team to work with, but
Mhm.
then really helping you amplify what you're capable of. You take their work and make it better. So their output is, I think, really, really good. Your addition, your taste, your expertise, your experience, all of that makes the work that much better. So in like working with a team, what I love about it is it's very much like working with a team in the sense that you can push them, like I said earlier, you can push, you can argue, you can challenge them, you can build on each other's work. So they're not just doing what you're doing. Sure, if somebody want to use this and say yes, 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 excuse me, they could get the work of a strategist. Would it be what you would think is great? Does it really represent your talent and your skill set? Not really, and that's why it's important for you.
Hmm.
But then on top of it, it's also my goal with it is help people win more projects. Like get into opportunities where you might have had to say no or pass or try to find people partner with you to elevate your work. So if you're a creative, you have more strategy. If you have strategy, if you're a strategist, you get help with research and you can bring creative or add like objects to that next meeting. You can have a more finalized deck if you don't like building decks. So there's pieces for each where it complements what you do. And
Mhm.
ultimately, like I said, like it's meant to help you win more projects. And then if you do win a project, suddenly, okay, now I need a producer and I need a writer to help me with this, and I need a social media expert to come in and help place everything. So the idea is you win a project and now you've created more work, not only for yourself, but hopefully others.
Right.
And last thing I'll say on it is the few marketers that I've shared with it or shared, the few marketers I've shared it with have not only loved the process, but really loved the output. They're like, this is really smart output. And to me, what that means is if they love the output, that means if you give them output that's from Wondrous to this client, then they're going to like it and they're going to buy it and they're going to be interested in it. And then that means you win and then that means more work. Or it also means that they might be able to use it to sell an initiative through
Mhm.
internally, which suddenly now has traction, which means people need to work on it. So ultimately, the goal is more wins, more work, more opportunity for everybody.
Well, and I think so many of us who have spent any decent amount of time freelancing know what that's like. We're like, oh my gosh, I could get this client.
Right.
How do I put together the pitch deck, and who am I going to bring together to get it done? And this person, thankfully, they found a job, but this person can't do this, and it just gets frustrating. You're like, this opportunity is slipping away
Right.
as I'm thinking about it.
Right.
So that's, yeah, you've eliminated another frustration.
And if you don't have the money to pay somebody to come help you, like, I mean, I
Oh
know
yeah,
people will put skin in the game these days, maybe more than they used to because things are, tight and
yes,
competitive. But sometimes they don't want to do that. And or sometimes you might look at a project and say, the amount that they, if I win, is not going to be that much. So I don't know if I really want to bring in a partner. Now you don't need to. Maybe you can win a project on your own, and because you're so good, you can fill in the gaps with Wondrous and still make a project viable that maybe you would have passed on before or not even tried to get.
this is like some of the bands that we all love who did the demo tape all by themselves and then had to hire a band later.
Oh, that's a great analogy. I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
So you obviously went through a lot of testing. How did you test this?
I've been very fortunate to have a pretty good, solid career and met a lot of amazing people who have helped me along the way. So as you mentioned, you're one of those great friends that uh, dove in when we were a little rougher, and but at the same time, we've had really amazing people try it, and that was really the goal. Was I didn't want inexperienced people to try this. I wanted highly experienced people that had skills and would tell me the truth and tell me if it was garbage and really push me to make sure that it was a world-class product. And so we've had really top people. So we've had creative directors that have worked at Wine and Candy and BBDO and Goodby and Adweek Creative 100 honorees and Cannes Lion and D&D winners, like really, really, really talented people. And not just creatives, but Effie winning strategists and marketers from some really big companies give it a try and really put it through its paces and really looking at what it would do. And the results have always been amazing. Certainly there's been hiccups and things like that, but the thinking I that has come through has really impressed people. One of my friends who's starting his own company gave it a try and said, I've been trying to solve this for 3 months and it's already giving me new ideas that I never thought of. And
Wow.
I've had strategists use it and say, this research is great. Like I hate doing research and this was super helpful. Or just the whole process of working through something where it's given me new ideas that I can build on as a creative. So that's also been really interesting where they said, I really like what Amelia's come up with, but now I have a creative brief and it's already given me like I already have 10 ideas that I didn't have before on something. So all of that's been really, really great. And I'm excited to let other people start using. But like I said, the goal was start the bar really high with really critical people because, advertising people, they're a rough crowd. And they will tell you like it is. But we've had some great feedback, which I'm really happy to say.
But that's awesome. Well, and it so when I was using it, it feels so all encompassing. Like it gets so much done. Like where does it fit alongside other AI tools that we might all be using?
So yeah, great question. So like I said earlier, it's the thinking before the making. So it really is that front end. It really leads you to the next step where so often we just want to jump to the making. So, and clients these days also want that too. So it really fits into giving you that output, and that's why the creative brief was so important. And the initial creative ideas were so important that whether or not you use exactly those creative ideas, I think I've seen work come out of Amelia that I'm like, wow, that was really smart. Oh, that's actually a really good idea. And now I've got 10 new headlines I could think of for, she came up with two, but I've got like 10 that I can write. But
Sparks the other ideas.
it sparks the other ideas exactly. So it Wonders is really about helping you get from nothing to something where you're like, you look at it and say, now I understand the market. Now I have a better understanding of positioning that could really work. Now I have some creative ideas. But then that can lead to helping you design better in Canva or generate work in Creatify or create
Oh,
ads and schedule them in Hootsuite or you know use MailChimp or beautiful AI to build a website. Like you really think you've got a grounded foundation now to think about. Designers have helped, looked at this and said, all the strategy is always just hard for me. Like I know what I want to make,
right.
but now I can come into a design meeting and say, well, the reason we're doing this is because this is what's happening in the market, and these are some cultural tensions we're pulling from, and just those little things can make a solopreneur designer elevate their practice in a way that they wouldn't normally be able to do.
Yeah. One person feels like 50,
Yeah, or at least eight, but yeah,
or at least
50.
eight. So here's the thing. Like we are. I know the frustration of I'm running out of minutes. How many tokens?
Right.
Uh, what does this cost if people want to use it?
It's $1 million. No, it's
Well,
not.
that's worth it. There you go.
I mean, that's what an agency would charge, right? An agency would say that here's $1 million for this. Um, no, so what we've decided was we're doing it per project, and that's really important to make it so you don't run out of tokens. There will be certain amounts of like scope and how much you can
Hmm.
continue to work through each part of the phase, but we've really built it in a robust way where we think people will move through it quickly. And it won't take a lot of tokens because you're not constantly prompting and trying to have it figure out what to do. You're
Hmm.
just doing the work. So
Oh, that makes
uh,
sense.
yeah. So it really helps go through the process. And like you said, you and I went through it. Um, Once we get through our soft launch, it's going to be 249 per project.
Okay.
Yeah. So once we get through the soft launch, it'll be 249 per project. But right now it's $99 to do a whole project.
Wow.
And which is kind of crazy. I mean, it's a that all of that work can be done for $99. And we really want people to use it. We really want people to go through the full experience. We thought about coming up with like a freemium where you could just give it a little try and like work with one of the agents. But really what matters is the full end-to-end experience. And
Yeah.
so we're going to let everybody go through the whole process for free, and you only pay when you get to the end and you decide if you want to output the work. So if you get all the way to the end and you thought it wasn't valuable, then great. If you do think it's valuable and you decide to output the PDF or the PowerPoint or the creative brief or any of that, that's when you would pay the $99. The interesting thing too is, if you're doing this for a client, you know what an agency would charge for this.
Oh, good grief. Yeah.
And it's not $99.
No.
So
That
you can mark
that's
it up as much
coffee.
as, yes, exactly. You can mark it up as much as you want, but we really think it's a great value. Again, the goal is to uh, help people do more. And so we wanted to put it at a price where it was valuable and usable for everybody. So that's really the goal. And then the really thing I'm excited to say is for anyone watching, If you use promo code ThinkLA, you will get the second project on us.
Oh,
So
wow. Thank you very
that
much for
is
that.
our gift to everybody at ThinkLA.
That's awesome.
We want you guys to be able to use it. We want you guys to, share it and let people know about it. And so it's really important to us that the more you use it, the more projects you get, and that's really our goal is helping you win.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
That's
of course.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. So you've launched this. People are going to start using it. They're going to see the value in it. But where do you see it going from here? I mean, after it has its a big adoption rate and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, where I hope it goes is I think the industry, like I said earlier, the I think the world is going to workflows, but I also think that independent talent, freelancers, people doing solopreneurs is where the future of advertising and marketing is going. And I've always been a big proponent of a few people in the room are the ones doing the work. And so my hope is as it continues to fragment, and holding companies fragment and consolidate and build their own tools,
Hmm.
that we become the tool that is for everybody else. It feels like the industry has been fragmenting and holding companies are consolidating and building tools for themselves and for their Fortune 500 and 100 companies. Our goal is to be that tool to help the independents, who have really been the experts that have been growing for the last decade, and really helps solo people compete, helps their work compete with teamwork, right? And or turns it into teamwork. And so for me, it's really about helping those solo experts, helping their solo work compete with teamwork. So someone else has a big team, even if you don't, as you said a moment ago, you'll show up looking like you're a team of 50 and nobody has to know the difference. But ultimately, our goal is to make it possible that being independent
Hmm.
doesn't mean going solo anymore.
It's the people's AI.
It's the people's AI. It really is. I think that's the thing that's so great about where all this is headed is really help, letting people do more with less or with less people, but really showing up. What's exciting is it helps independent folks show up bigger and stronger than they currently are and amplifying those skill sets, and really not making you feel like you're at a disadvantage just because you're solo, which I think a lot of people may feel.
Oh, and I think you're right, especially when you're freelancing or you're an independent consultant. Yeah, that having that resource, just it augments what you're able to do by yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of people could use that leverage these days where you feel
Especially,
like the world is stacked against you, like somebody needs to help, and our goal is to help.
oh, and that's why I think LA is here as well. So that's a good fit.
Yes, exactly
Um,
right. Exactly right.
well, listen. First of all, thank you for the discount code. That's awesome.
Of course.
And congratulations on the launch. This is again,
Thank
having
you.
walked through it myself, I was really impressed. This is a great tool for people, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Don.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.